Hello, and welcome back to Music Sucks and I Want to Die. I'm Matt.
I'm Jake, and today we have a very, very special guest all the way from sunny Los Angeles, California. What's up, Cindy?
Hey, how's it going?
We're doing pretty good. How about you?
Not too bad.
Nice. So Cindy O'Connor is her name. Film composing / orchestrating is her game. See, this is what I mean by I should never be allowed to take the lead on this stuff. So yeah, why don't you tell us about yourself, Cindy?
Oh, it's my favorite question.
Yeah.
All right. What do you do exactly?
Yeah, what's your whole life story from
My
start to
whole
finish?
life story is I've worked in about every nook and cranny. Now I am mainly a film and TV composer, but I have also been a session player. I've been a touring keyboard player. I've been a session singer. I've been a singing telegram girl. That was my first job out of college.
You should do that, Jake.
Oh, yeah.
Position. Woohoo!
Nice.
What else? I've been a composing assistant. I have written musicals.
Well, you've done a lot of different stuff.
A lot of things.
And just to tell everyone at home, I believe you told me you toured with Pat Benetar. Is that right?
I did.
Woo.
Yeah.
My childhood idol. So that
Really?
was
That's cool.
a thrilling experience. I used to direct my stuffed animal band, and we would sing Pat Benetar songs.
Oh, that's so cute.
So you said you mostly compose for film and TV now, right?
I do.
Was that always a goal, or did you kind of just stumble into that? Did you originally just want to be like touring musician or something? Or
I did kind of stumble into that. I started out playing classical piano and thought I might like to be a concert artist. But then in high school, I fell in love with musical theater and thought I might like to write Broadway shows. Still like to do that, but I've had a few small shows, but I haven't had anything gigantic.
That's cool.
And I sort of fell into film scoring while I was playing in random bands and trying to make a living through music. I decided I needed to get a day job, and one of my friends recommended that he knew a film composer who was looking for an office person. And I thought, great, well, that sounds kind of interesting. And this was Mark Isham. And so once I got that job, and he didn't even know that I was a musician, he just wanted somebody to answer his phone. And my friend, in fact, had briefed me. Don't try to get gigs out of him. He doesn't want to, you'll probably piss him off and you'll be out of there. So just go in and do the office work. And then if you get to know him and he's nice, whatever. So I think for the first year, I didn't even mention that I was a musician because my friend had put the fear of God in me. But then when I finally did mention it, I said, I'd love to just sit and observe you while you write and do your thing. I think it would be fascinating. And he said, sure, no problem. He was really low key, and he actually enjoyed explaining things and how his workflow, and soon I was helping out with things like loading sample libraries and basically all of the grunt tasks that he was happy to offload onto somebody that I was really excited to do because it was all fun things to learn. And at the same time as this job, I decided this film scoring thing is kind of interesting. So I went back to UCLA where I had done my undergrad, and I did the extension film scoring program.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Which was pretty good, which included it was kind of one class in everything. It included orchestration and music editing and conducting, and it wasn't anything like the programs that they have today where you had to learn the software on your own and everything. But
wow,
interesting. It was still the basic theory of film scoring, and we got to work with a handful of players.
Nice.
Okay. Well, that's really cool.
It was a lot of fun.
Nice. So you mentioned you had wanted to like compose musicals and stuff. So during all this, you were composing already, not necessarily with film and movie or TV in mind, but just.
I was doing. I had written one musical that won a college theater festival and ended up getting published, and so my writing partner and I, in our young, fresh out of school naivete, thought, well, this is great. Everything we write is going to get published and produced. We're in.
Yeah, you did it.
We're in. I bet the next one's going to Broadway. But we should get jobs while we're writing the next one because we have to pay the rent and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so at the time, I really my composing experience was with piano and singers.
Okay.
And I had played in some top 40 bands, and that was my band experience, but I hadn't written anything orchestral. There was still a lot to learn. And I was
Right.
very much a classical dork and theater dork. I learned a lot from Mark about jazz and playing in the pocket and
Okay.
playing
Cool.
back.
Okay, so going back to school was a really good idea then.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
All right. I think that's the first time we've heard that on the show. Oh, man.
But no one cares if you have a degree or not. No one will ask for your proof of graduation.
Right.
It's only good in the holes in your education that you need to fill and the friends that you make.
Yeah, the
That makes
connections.
sense.
Yeah.
So after doing grunt work for however long and going back to school, was it those connections that you just called up and were like, hey, I learned some stuff. Let me start doing things?
Yeah.
Or what happened after that?
You get some work.
Well, I did. I started doing things for Mark. I was just an eager little creature who was always there saying, can I put some strings on that? Can I sing on something? I was just always trying to ride the fine line of I don't want to be obnoxious, but I really want to learn and do things. And he was happy to hand things over. So I got to do a little bit of orchestrating and a little bit of writing. I got to sing on some things. What was this question again?
Oh, no,
That was the question.
That was the question.
Yeah.
So what was sort of your first, your project then? How did that end up happening? Is it just sort of getting more and more work? Or?
That was another random relationship. One of my first job after college, embarrassingly, was singing Telegram Girl.
Right.
That didn't last very long. That was kind of degrading and humiliating. When you're a young woman and you show up in a costume for someone's birthday, they usually think you're going to be a stripper. And they're very upset when you say, "Oh no, I'm just going to sing,"
And then I'm going to leave. Yeah. Bye.
Oh.
Yeah. Bye.
I don't even know who would send someone that.
I know.
Anyway.
I've
That's
actually
also just
never
weird-
heard of that in my entire life.
I thought it was like an old thing.
Yeah.
I saw
Like a 50s
so
thing.
Bugs
random.
Bunny cartoons or something.
Yeah.
The fun ones were for when it was for a little kid's party. And
Yeah.
you go as a character or something and sing a song.
That makes sense. Yeah.
The sleazy ones were French Maid and Jane of the Jungle.
Ooh.
Sent to
You did
an
those?
office bro for his birthday.
Oh, God.
Oh, that's weird.
I quit that job pretty quickly. But
Yeah.
one of my next jobs. Wait, I forgot where I was going with this. What was this?
I was asking sort of what was your first, your
Oh, yes.
project in this
One
world?
of my next jobs after the singing telegrams was I waited tables at a great place in Beverly Hills. It was called Kate Mantilini. And it was right up the street from the Writers Guild. So there were a lot of celebrities that came in after screenings and stuff. And everyone who worked there was an actor, a director, or a writer. And so we all ended up helping each other out with projects. And in fact, it was one of my coworkers at Kate's, who was a film school grad who was looking to write and direct. I ran into him years after we had both quit and said, "What have you been up to?" And he said, "I'm making a movie." And I said, "Do you need music?"
Ford. Nice.
Nice.
And that was very easy. So, and this was a micro budget indie
Sure.
but was very well written and funny. And through some miracle, it got into Sundance and South by Southwest
Oh.
and got a couple of distribution offers.
Oh, wow.
And once again, we all thought, "Hey, this is it. We made it."
Yeah, we're so good.
And unfortunately, none of us became huge after that. But it was another little step up the thing. This movie was called Forgiving the Franklins. And actually, this writer-director and I, Jay Floyd is his name, now that we've all got some time during the pandemic, we had always talked about, hey, we should really... He also loves musical theater. We always talked about, hey, we should really write Forgiving the Franklins, the musical.
Oh.
Because there's such a trend of movies from the 80s and 90s becoming
true.
stage shows, although this one wasn't that old. This one was 2006. So
Well, that means you're pushing the envelope.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we've been writing it, and it's coming out. We're pretty
that's cool.
excited
That's
how
cool.
it's coming out. So
I'll just
we're gonna
check
put
on the movie
together-
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to put together a Zoom reading and
Oh, interesting.
get our friends together and try and figure out how to produce a Zoom reading of a musical.
Oh, and,
I'm curious to see how
yeah.
that goes.
Based on our experience trying to set up this Zoom call with 3 people, I don't know.
Yeah, just the tech that was required for a podcast
I
interview.
know, right?
Yeah. Oh, goodness
Imagine
gracious.
having actors have to get themselves set up at home to do this.
Yeah, I wouldn't even try.
Challenge.
Yeah.
Hackers are dumb, right?
Yeah,
I-
it's confirmed. Not like me, yeah, because musicians
Not like
are really
us,
smart. Yeah.
obviously.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I don't know if you.
Right.
I don't know if you listened to any of our stuff.
phrase.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. My internet's
Me?
actually really bad. Yeah. Maybe I should have tried like Etherneting this.
Wow, Jake.
There's always something that I fuck up, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. So anyway, out of curiosity, like I guess that kind of naturally segues into the topic. Like, what do you do now that the entire music industry is a complete disaster piece?
Is this pre or post COVID or?
This is COVID right now. Yeah,
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
the now you
During
mean.
COVID,
the now.
Okay, because I feel like the music industry was a disaster before COVID.
Well, that's true, but now it literally doesn't exist. So.
changing. It's a changing and evolving. We
Oh,
all need
okay.
to learn to ride the new wave.
Okay. But yeah, so yeah, what was it like after that? What did you do now? And like, and then how'd COVID affect it, I guess?
It's been a super slow year, and I must say I've been really fortunate that I've had something over the years. I've built up things in my BMI catalog that I'm able to
Oh, yeah.
kind of live off of that now, plus a few other little things.
Sure.
Having done TV and having gotten on the cue sheet of a bunch of the big projects that Mark did, which is all to say, keep your writer share and get on the cue sheet when you can.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know what a cue sheet is.
Well, I will show you what a cue sheet is.
I figure our
That is
audience
a-
might not know either. So
That is a list of all the music in a film and who wrote it and who owns publishing.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Cindy.
Hey, check it out!
Hey, look at that. So yeah, this is not a cue sheet. This is a score for one cue. But here's the cue sheet. Doink. Look at that. Audience who can see it with like 10 pixels from the camera on the other side of the room.
Actually,
I kinda wanna see
that
this.
one is a cue list, but that is not the same thing I'm talking
Wow.
about.
Oh, shit.
Jake, you are so stupid. You don't know anything.
That's the list of recording of everybody who plays on it and how many
Oh,
minutes
okay.
and all of that. etc.
God,
Got it.
I feel so.
But when for every, I don't know if games have them. I think games might have them. But for every film and TV show, you submit to ASCAP or BMI or whatever your PRO is, a cue sheet, which is every piece of music in the movie, and it includes who wrote it and who owns publishing on it. And if it's anything like a studio film or a TV or a broadcast TV show, they will own publishing just because that's their business model.
Yeah.
They're not going to give it to you.
Right.
But if on an indie film, you can own your own publishing, and then
Okay.
you can use that music again for something.
Okay.
And
So
it really is every bit of music. Like if there's a character who is whistling a tune as he's washing the dishes, that goes on the cue sheet, and whatever he's whistling, whoever wrote it gets paid.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty tight.
That's pretty cool. So essentially,
A very comprehensive list.
So if you do write something for like a studio or a bigger project, then you essentially just give up the rights to the music?
Well,
Or
you keep the writer's
you keep the-
share, right?
Yes, you do
But
keep. You have
okay.
to give up publishing,
got it. So
is
it's,
just the
you
way
don't get
that
to
it
use that
is.
ever again.
Yeah.
but on indie projects, I'm usually able to keep it. And what you do is you just license the score to them.
Got it.
For all there's some official legal phrase in all this and all future media in all perpetuity, something that throughout the universe. that says
Until everyone's dead.
anything connected with this movie, you guys can use this music forever in any form of media.
Interesting.
I still own it, and if I want to put it in another project, I can.
Huh. All right. Interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty tight.
So I know, yeah, you said you're not, everything is weird now, but pre-COVID, how busy does this line of work keep you generally? Like, are you constantly working on new stuff, or do you have like projects and then long breaks, or?
When I was doing a TV series, it was full time, sort of like a teacher schedule. It was full time with the summer off,
Okay,
which
yeah.
was pretty great because we would either do an episode a week or an episode every 2 weeks. And then we'd have a little bit of a break at the holidays, just enough to creep out of the cave and see your family. And then go through again until the summer. And then any personal projects or musicals or fun things, I would have to try and squeeze them in the summer.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is nice thing about COVID is there's all the time for all the hobbies and the passion projects and
A little too much time, maybe.
And just to be clear, this work you're talking about is for Once Upon a Time, right?
yes.
Yeah.
That was that. And then before that I did another series with Isham for 2 years called Crash. It was based on the movie. It was sort of an LA story of cops and families in an LA neighborhood and how all of their lives interacted.
Okay, cool. Nice. So what's the sort of like a typical day look like then if you're working on Once Upon a Time or whatever?
I can talk about a typical week because that sort of gives
yeah.
you the,
Let's go with that.
That's a unit of measure.
11 episode. So usually we would have our recording session. I'll work backwards. Our recording sessions were Monday or Tuesday nights. So usually a week before that, Mark Isham and Mike Simon, the other composer, and I would jump on the phone and split it all up. We'd watch the episode and then we'd say, all right, you take this, I'll take this. It usually started with, do you have one that you really want and do you have one that you really don't want?
Okay.
And then sometimes we'd have to bargain. Oh, God, I don't want to do that one either. All right, I'll let you do this really beautiful love theme if you also do dwarfs whistling in the woods.
real
Something random. So we would split up who was doing what. And then we would have a few days to write. We would send, everything was pretty much done remotely. It was rare that we would actually meet in a room and spot something with the producers and showrunners, because we did for the first couple of episodes, but then it was just everybody watch it at home. When we finish cues, we make QuickTime videos and upload them. They give notes by email. Then we do any revisions and upload another video. And then once everything has been approved, then it goes, we have to allow a day or two for things to go to the orchestrators and copyists. Because on this show, we were lucky to have a gigantic music team, and we had orchestrators, we had the Disney music team doing all the copying.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty great to just be able to write something and turn it in.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not have to
Opposed
explode
an
the parts
indie
yourself.
film where I'm there sweating over the printer.
Right.
ink is
Yeah,
running
yeah.
out, the parts are coming.
And then you print out a part and there's like a coda sign in the middle of a staff. And then it's like, oh my God, I have to print out everything again.
Something has gone awry with finale.
Oh no, I can't imagine that world. Oh, goodness gracious. So I have a quick question regarding that process, though. So you said you and the producer or the other two composers kind of meet up and then distribute things. How do you know what's being distributed? Is there already a list of, like, did the director create a list of where he wants music and what? Or is it already kind of predetermined because the show's been going for a while and you kind of know how it works? Or
Usually it's, in a film, it's usually the music editor that makes temp. And in TV, a lot of times it's the picture editors. They just throw in either music that they like, or once we had given them a fairly good-sized library of cues, they tried to use our stuff when they could. But
Gotcha.
inevitably, they would use gigantic 100-piece orchestra stanzas, and we would have to say,
Yeah.
it's going to sound exactly like that. It's going to be that emotion.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be approximately that. So,
Sorry.
So basically, they give you a file with music from somewhere else in it already, and then you try to approximate it or
And then
make
we
it cooler.
sometimes we have a conversation with them saying, "Ooh, we have a better idea. How about if we do this instead?"
Okay, so it's still pretty
Or something.
collaborative.
And then
sometimes.
for this particular show, there was so much music in every episode. There was probably about 45 minutes of music in an hour-long show. So we had to have, because of
Hustling.
union restrictions, we could only do 1 3-hour session. So we could record about 24 minutes of new stuff. So then we'd have to have our music editors cut in all the rest of the stuff from our existing.
Well, that's why I was curious, because like if you watch a TV show, it'll be like this character's theme, or like this place always has a theme. So yeah, I guess like, in this case maybe it's special, but how much new music do you write after a while?
We did because we had the recording session. We did write 24 minutes of new stuff every week. And there were, in this particular show, there were always new characters coming in who could have new themes, or
Right.
Yes.
sometimes they'd go to a different world, and that was always fun because we could bring in different sounds for the different world. Like we had, who was the Disney character with the red hair who's an archer? Merida.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had Merida's story, and we got to have live bagpipes for that. And damn, those things are loud.
Oh my God. Was it in that same little studio I went to?
It was in the bridge, yes.
Yeah. Oof, man, that would have blown that place up. Oh man, that's awesome. That sounds like a pretty big hustle though, to write out 24 minutes of, edited parts and things to deliver to a recording session every week.
Yes, that's why we were lucky to have other people doing a lot of it.
Yeah, that's pretty great. There's like 26 or so episodes in a season.
22, sometimes 23.
So essentially like half the year you're just like roar, hustling out of your mind.
So there are usually it starts out with an episode every 2 weeks, so everybody can kind of get, but there's always that after, I don't know if you guys have this, but after you've taken a couple months away from writing music, there's always that period of, wait a minute, how does this work again?
I mean,
What?
we just played a wedding gig in Idaho a couple weeks ago, and we figured out that we basically can't play music anymore.
Yeah. It's like, that's what playing live is like?
Yeah,
I forgot.
Exactly. I was just like, oh yeah, there's like a bridge here, I guess, maybe. Oh, I had to switch sounds like 10 minutes ago. My bad. But yeah, so the skills go away, they get rusty, and then that's cool that they give you kind of a little bit of a get back into it period where you're not quite as hustly.
It sort of starts slow, and then several episodes in, suddenly you're doing one every week. Boom, boom, boom.
So, well, I mean, let's just say COVID isn't happening at some point. But
Let's pretend that it's not here forever.
God.
how does it look for someone wanting to get into like film or TV composition? Like, what's that look like these days? Because obviously you're established now, but I assume you see people coming and trying to break in.
Definitely. I'd say it's actually, last year I started running a composer mentor program through the SCL, which I sort of got thrown into last year, but then I ended up really enjoying it, and I'm doing it again this year. So
Okay, cool.
we got to listen to, they had over 100 applicants that our committee got to listen to and judge, and all of these fresh, it's funny, some of them were the traditional path of they got their degree in music and then they did some graduate work studying film scoring, and some of them were from completely other paths. They were started as a solo artist, or one of them was a filmmaker and she's self-taught as a musician, and yet some of them just have an amazing, interesting voice already. So
Interesting.
we ended
That's
up picking kind of a variety of people. All of this to say that people are, I think it's definitely still a good time for people to, there's so much content being made right now between Amazon and Netflix and Hulu and all the, it seems like every streaming service is making its own things now. And all of it needs music. And even though a lot of it is using library music, you can write for the libraries. You can, there are lots of different ways for people to jump in.
We actually,
oh god,
yeah, that's right. We're about to talk about it. Matt and I had a thing for a while. We had a duo piano guitar, like melodic guitar and percussion or whatever. And we were going to we sat down one day and wrote like 9 to 10 songs of some sort, and then we're going to place in the library. But then we figured out we had no idea how to actually record acoustic guitar to make it sound even plausibly good. And then and we tried to record it in my apartment with like a 7-foot ceiling and like made of straight drywall, and it was sounded like complete garbage. And then we gave up on our licensing dreams forever.
Yeah,
so
careless.
But aside from that, so you mentioned that as a path where you can write for libraries. So you basically, what you do is you make content and then you give up your publishing share and try and get it placed in a library and have them try and sync it for you, or
basically, yes, there are various levels of deals, but one of the ones that I've done, I had a friend who has a music library, and I wrote a bunch of cues for him. Usually it's like they have a very specific brief of things that they're looking for. Like this is for whatever kind of TV show it was for. We need fun and excitement. We need 2 minutes of fun and excitement. And at 30 seconds, we need it to dun, 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 boom. We need it to build and then stop. And then anyway, there's a very specific briefs like that. And you write something, and then you have to give them a few different cut downs, a few different varieties of stems. Like, let's have one with no drums. Let's have one with no melody.
Interesting. Okay.
So that whoever is using the library can have as many different ways to use that piece and break it down as they can. And then usually you keep the writer's share and they keep the publishing, and any sync fees you split. Although the sad thing is that in TV, a lot of these libraries, everyone's fees have just gone so far down that a lot of these libraries just give the whole thing.
They what?
And then everybody lives off of the back end.
Oh, no,
That's
dude.
rough.
And so then it's just all about volume. It's just all about how many hundreds of minutes
Right.
you
That's
have
rough.
out there. And then it can really add up and be nice. So they say. I don't have that many.
Yeah, that sounds like
Mine are a tiny portion of my statement.
Right. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty difficult kind of way to approach it if you're just focusing on trying to get like syncing fees from a
I
library.
think it works out best for the people who own the libraries. But song, on the other hand, song sync is big business.
Oh, okay.
And if you get a song in an ad they pay a lot more than for instrumental music.
Interesting.
Okay, so like say Matt has a like post grunge band, just as an example, and he gets a song synced. What does that process kind of look like? Does he try to approach like an ad agency, or do they find him somehow via his fame? Or
There's sometimes they just listen. Someone finds a band and likes it, but that's sort of like the actors being discovered in the malt shop.
Right.
More often it's there's someone in between. There's a music supervisor or somebody who is out there looking for songs for this project. And sometimes they have songwriters that they regularly work with, and they might send them a brief saying, hey, we're looking for songs about happy home for a COVID commercial. But they might give you a theme, and happy acoustic guitar and a girl singer is what we're looking for.
Okay.
And then people submit their songs, and one of them gets chosen. And if it's a huge commercial, it could be 50 or 60 grand for your
Whoa.
sync fee.
Hello.
yeah, that's
Even-
like 3 times what I'm making this year. Yeah, woo!
That's like I hit a jackpot having that's
Right.
like someone
Right.
has their song in the new iPhone commercial.
Sure.
Or
Yeah.
Interesting,
gigantic.
though.
But even I've been surprised looking at music editors' notes for some of the films that I've worked on, that on a decent sized film, just a random song that somebody flicks on the radio and plays might get 5 to 10 grand.
Jam.
That's
10
ain't bad.
seconds per
That's not
song.
bad.
It's
well-
more than a composer gets for 10 seconds of music.
Yikes.
Hooray.
But again, that person has probably written 15 songs that month, and they're sending them all out.
Oh,
and
yeah.
one of
So
them
they
is
pay
not-
for it. They're getting their hourly rate balanced out, as it were.
Probably.
So if someone does want to say work for like a Once Upon a Time type project or something along those lines, I guess is it really just come down to like connections and who you know? I mean, obviously things like your mentorship program or going to school, I imagine would help, but
Can I show up at Mark Isham's door and,
yeah,
you know,
do you have to be an assistant for it?
yeah.
There are all kinds of ways. One way is a lot of composers have met their filmmaker match while they were both in school and made an indie or a student film together, and then one of their careers took off and the two of them rise together.
That's cool.
That is one way to do it, is to meet an up-and-coming filmmaker or do some student films. Or a lot of the universities, like here, AFI makes a lot of student films, and they're always looking for someone to write music for them. That is one good way. Or another path is you can assist an established composer, and eventually when they get busy, the scraps fall from the table and you can start writing things or pick up a project or do additional music on something. Or you can just get out in the world. If you're beyond student life, you can just get out. And I met one filmmaker at a Women in Film event for a film that I did last year, just by going out. And it's painful for an introvert. Hi, I'm a composer. Projects, what do you do?
Yeah.
Hire me, please.
Yeah.
I don't do that very often, just because it's not really my thing, and I have lucked out to meet people in more comfortable settings. Like I've done things with other assistants who have worked on films that I was working on as an assistant. Like there was one woman who was a title designer on one of Isham's films, and then she was making a short of her own, and she approached me. We had chatted in meetings a couple of times, and she said, "Hey, I'm looking for someone to score this film," and that was another of my first projects.
Yeah, I gotta imagine, like, I hear this a lot from like guitar players and stuff, but sort of the specific mindset you have to like work in Los Angeles or Hollywood or something, where you have to actually not be a total introvert and hide and wait for things. There's
definitely, you have to challenge yourself and get out. And most of the time people are nice.
Sure.
And some people it's easier for than others. I know my husband is just a chatty Irishman. He can walk into a bar and make 15 new friends in an hour.
Yep.
Whereas I would just go in and have my drink and maybe talk to one person.
Right. Yeah. So basically, I have you mentioned earlier that you are part of a union of some sort. So Matt and I up here in Seattle basically don't know what a union is. The local union here has exactly zero power unless you play for the Seattle Symphony or Seattle Opera. And even they split from the main union and have literally their own union now. So, no one I know, no musician I've ever met in my entire life that doesn't play for them is part of the union. So what's the union like down there? What is the union? Is it the AFM or what's up?
It's the AFM. It's not for composers. I mean, composers can be in it as musicians, but it doesn't represent, there's no composers union.
Okay.
And they have tried again and again. And it's either, I think there was actually an official ruling the last time they tried that composers are independent contractors and therefore they can't form a union.
Really?
But they've tried for years to form a union, and it was either there's such lone wolf creatures that they couldn't come together on what their demands were going to be. There was one time about 10 years ago when we tried to team up with the Teamsters, which seemed promising because the Teamsters is a powerful union.
Sure.
But again, the composers somehow just didn't make it happen.
Solitary lifestyle,
we kind of love them and hate them. They used to have a lot more power around recording sessions for films down here, but then they really did not do a good job of changing with the times, and for various reasons everybody started recording overseas, not so much just to save money but because of the back end issue. Our union, we have a thing called the Secondary Markets Fund for anything that a union musician plays on. It's something like is it 2% or is it 0.2% of the back end profits gets split up among all the musicians union players, which is great on a gigantic budget thing where there's tons of money and everybody gets their whatever couple $100 a year for each big project that can add up and be nice. And the session players who play on everything, that adds up.
I bet they love that. Yeah, I'd be down for that. That sounds great.
But again, there's a huge inequality between the musicians that maybe don't do as many sessions, or musicians who play on indie films, and those producers don't want to be locked into the back end. They just want music that they can have a buyout and say, we just want to pay for it and we're done. We don't have to do the accounting and the paying out. And all the Eastern European orchestras do that. Some of the British have a musicians union, but they also will do a buyout deal. They're not attached to this back end like our AFM is.
Yeah.
And so therefore they've lost a ton of work. And what has ended up happening is a lot of members have gone FICOR, which is sort of a way to play both sides. You're still in the union, but you give up the right to vote. And then you can take non-union jobs without getting penalized.
I see. That's complicated.
Yeah.
I'm glad we don't have that here.
Yeah, I'm pretty glad that's not a thing. You know what I do? I go play a fucking gig. I get paid $300 and then I go home. Yeah. But then again, sometimes, like for instance, you play a gig in Leavenworth in the snow in 10-degree weather outside, and then
sucks for you.
Yeah. So in that case, maybe you need to be like, hey, you can't like fucking do that. Can we get a break here, please?
Yes, you have to have breaks. They are a little annoying with the breaks that have to happen at a certain time. You're in your session and you're just really intense cue and you just want to get one more take and it's nope, sorry, we got to have a break.
I know. I was at that recording session for Once Upon a Time like many years ago, and I noticed that those breaks were literally second accurate.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And your 3-hour session, like there's a second when it has to end. And we used to call it the Isham Express because we could plow through and get a lot of cues done in the 3 hours, but sometimes it was really a race to the finish. Oh my God, we got one more take. Can we get it? We have 5 seconds.
Yeah, we did it. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
It's a different planet than we live in.
I feel like usually we're trying to run out the clock. This gig's another 20 minutes.
Yeah,
crap.
God damn it. What can we play for 20 minutes? Let's play McCoy Tyner. Perfect. No, so yeah, that's just an interesting dichotomy, I guess, between Seattle and LA in that sense. Because Seattle, I guess, is almost a joke.
You guys have a thriving film recording thing up there, don't you? I know things.
Do we?
There's some group up there that does.
Yeah, so Hummy Mon is up here, and he opened up the Pacific Northwest Film Scoring Institute, and there's the Seattle Film Institute. But and there's also DigiPen, which is like video game music stuff.
Oh.
But I
don't know anything about those.
So yeah, sit back and relax. No. So I know very little, but what I do know is that film and Seattle aren't a match made in heaven. There's a lot of local regulations in the law prohibiting certain uses of outdoor spaces in that sense for the long time, and there's not a huge like infrastructure for studio. So a lot of film that would be shot up here is actually shot up in Vancouver, Canada.
Oh.
Yeah, so like if you know
that's where Once was shot.
Yeah, exactly. So
like every show I watch is shot up there.
Exactly, like the X-Files. Everything's shot in Canada and not here. Even though like
it takes place in Seattle.
Yeah, if it takes place in Seattle, it's shot in Canada.
Every time.
Because Seattle has certain laws and apparently is also very expensive tax-wise and I guess rental-wise, building-wise. I'm not sure all the details, but Seattle is not a very film-friendly place in that sense. So it kind of sucks.
That's a shame. Yeah, it's where other states like Georgia are giving tax cuts if you film.
Yeah,
right.
And there's actually a movement. I know a dude who represents the AFM around here. He's trying to really hammer Seattle City Council and be like, "Yo, we need to get some film industry going in here. It's a bunch of money, and people love the sight lines in Seattle. There's a bunch of gorgeous stuff. Well, we'll ignore the fact that our waterfronts are collapsing, all our bridges are going away. Whatever, it's fine." But there's a lot of scenery here that people will like to see in movies. And, you know, let's get that going. The Seattle Kids is like, we don't care. We don't give a fuck. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess, yeah, do you know, like, maybe film aside, like, where they're shooting? I guess that can change. But as far as, like, scoring and writing for film and TV, do you think it's sort of necessary to be in Los Angeles? Or is that kind of where the work is and you need to be there?
I think you can do the work from anywhere, but it's definitely necessary for getting work to be in a place where you can meet people in person.
Right.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Now I suppose you can just meet people on a Zoom call, or you can
True.
go and have a masked coffee with someone.
Yeah.
Right.
But
go where the
definitely
work
helps
is.
to have that face-to-face meeting with someone at an event, or be able to just invite them over to the studio to come and watch something. It does help.
Totally. It's also kind of probably a mindset issue. If you surround yourself with the culture you want to be in, you know, it probably helps in that respect too, to get you more
I think so.
hungry.
And you have a lot of friends who are doing what you want to do, and sometimes if you're not doing that well, one of them is, and it's great. It still feels like it's possible because your people around you are doing it.
Yeah. Well, I also then got to ask, how did you start playing with Pat Benetar?
Yeah.
Like, how did that
That's the real...
That was so random. That was literally...
all your things are random, aren't they?
That was a singer friend of mine. I had played in some cover bands in my earlier days, but I wasn't really doing anything band-wise, but a singer friend of mine called and said, hey, if you want to audition for... Pat Benetar is looking for a girl to play keys and sing backup, and if you want to audition, it was literally call this guy who knows a guy who knows a guy.
Oh, God.
who can hook you up. And I thought, wow, Pat Benetar. But I didn't think there was that great of a chance, so I called the guy who knew a guy who knew a guy, and he said, well, we've already got a whole day of girls auditioning, but if none of them work out, we'll give you a call. He had kind of a gruff voice.
Oh, sick.
And
Yeah,
so
the snark.
we'll call you, honey, if none of these go. So I thought about it, and I thought, well, that's kind of disappointing, but wouldn't it be great to get a gig like this? And so for whatever reason, I was inspired. I was in a coffee shop, and I said, all right, if I were to get a gig like this, what would I need to have? So I made a list. At the time, I had one synth. I didn't even have a mic and a mic stand. I made a list of all the gear I would need to have. Well, I'd probably want to have 2 keyboards, down to the last cable of here's all the stuff that I would need to have.
Yeah.
And here's the skills I would need to work on if I wanted a gig like this. I just sort of got in the mindset of, wouldn't it be great to have a gig like this? And what do you know? The next week, the gruff-voiced guy called back and just said, hey, kid.
Hey, kid.
So we didn't like any of those girls, so we're going to have another audition. So can you learn these 5 songs and show up at such and such a rehearsal space? And so I did, and I thought, well, I figured I was just going to be playing in a room for her manager or something.
Sure.
So I showed up, and there was Pat, and she came over and said, hi, I'm Pat, and was just so friendly and sweet. And I thought, wow, well, if nothing comes of this, at least I got to meet Pat and play with her. And it went really well, and I ended up getting it.
Nice.
That's so cool.
I have a super nerd question. So I am a piano keyboard player. When was this? What was this, the 90s, 2000s?
This was 2000 through 2004. This was summer 2000 when
I was gonna try and guess your rig.
Oh, Jesus.
No. I'm not gonna do that. Don't worry.
It wasn't the newest, coolest anything.
I'm assuming there was like maybe a Kirschweil involved, or
I had a Triton as my
chord
main.
Triton. Yeah.
That was for my main piano and organ sounds and those. And then actually the first year I could not afford a second keyboard, so I borrowed something from Isham.
Nice.
He has about 1 million synths, and he said, sure, take one of these.
Take your pick. Yeah.
I borrowed one of his for this, and then I had an old D50 in the garage.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought, oh my God, the 80s. So for the second year, I used that. And
Yeah, dude, the D50
for those 80s sounds. And then I ended up getting a a Nord lead
Oh yeah,
the-
dude. Okay.
for the fun synth stuff, because there was one summer we used to do a lot of kind of rock fests with 2 or 3 other 80s bands, and we did this one show with Foreigner, and I noticed that and they were great live. Those guys are serious players, and I noticed that they had all the latest coolest synths, and they were sort of doing a cool thing with playing all the old songs but with new and hip synth sounds.
Okay.
That's kind of cool.
That sounds kind of cool. So I got the Nord in the hopes of doing that.
Yeah, that's pretty rad. Unfortunately, this is for our listeners at home. Talking about keyboards is probably the single most boring thing that's ever happened to them.
Even our
Nerding
listeners
out.
right now.
Oh, fuck you, Matt. Well, if you had your way, we'd start talking about that stupid space pedal you have.
It's fine.
Oh goodness.
Wish
But-
I knew about guitars to nerd out, but I do not.
well, if you hang out with one enough, you learn more than you ever wanted to know.
Yeah, that's probably true.
That's one of those instruments I've been wanting to learn for years and years, and I usually get about 5 chords in, and then I just get frustrated at being a
Yeah,
beginner.
that's all you need, really.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I learned how to play Wonderwall. I'm done on guitar for my entire life, to be honest. I'm good to go.
Do we have any more?
I mean, I think
topics?
I can't think of anything else I want to cover. Is there any last words about this topic you want to say, Cindy? Anything we haven't covered, or?
I don't think so.
Good.
Yeah.
Anything you want to plug? I mean, I know no one's doing anything now, but
Yeah.
you got your musical coming up.
There's a musical in development. Actually, I'm putting out a soundtrack album, my first little indie soundtrack album
Oh.
for this film that I scored last summer, but it just came out a couple months ago on Amazon, iTunes, and all of the streamers. It's called Deanie Bean is Dead. It's a black comedy about a woman who is stalking her ex-fiance and kills her boss.
Not tight.
Sounds cool. I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'd watch that.
It's actually really clever and well written, and the lead actress, who is also the writer, is fantastic.
Oh, cool.
And we did there was a great opportunity for a lot of fun music because the whole thing was kind of over the top and tongue in cheek. And so the character listens to this podcast about murder. It's called the Murder Macabre podcast. So I came up with this sort of film noir theme for the Murder
cool.
Macabre podcast. And then they had some things in the temp that were a Mexican band. So George has some friends who are in a mariachi group. So I got together with them and did some Mexican band songs.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
It's a fun little, weird
Oh, that
little
sounds
score.
awesome.
So-
Oh,
Cool.
yeah, I'll have to watch that. That
Yeah.
sounds cool.
Yeah, and look out for that soundtrack album. I actually have one more question relating to the topic. It's a very simple one.
Sure.
Do you enjoy working in the film industry?
I do.
Okay.
Hate it.
Most of the time I do because there's always something new to learn and there's always different genres to try and
Constant challenge, yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see liking that.
Yeah,
If I knew-
totes.
If I knew anything about writing music, yeah, probably be really cool.
Wow. Fantastic. All right, I think we're going to move away from the main topic then and go into some rants of the week. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I have any, though.
Oh, cool. Well, I guess I'll get us started with a brief rant about playing weddings.
Oh, here we go.
No. I actually,
Done it.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, this year no one's playing any weddings, but I've been somehow the last 3 weeks I've played weddings each week, and it's been like some miracle, and I have no more gigs for like the rest of the year. But I was enjoying it while it lasted. I was gonna say this is a positive rant, one of our rare positive rants, where wedding gigs are really not that bad at all. They're really not. Like, I know we played that horrible one like 2 weeks ago. That was like super embarrassing and awful in every single way. But I played a solo one last week, and you get food that's usually really good. I had this like delicious blue cheese salad, and it was like all free, and it was all really delicious. And then you play for like 4 to 5 hours, and you get paid a lot of money. And then you get to do whatever you want. And if this is assuming everything goes well, of course, that people like you, and you get possibly other work out of it, and then everyone's having a really good time. At this particular wedding I'm talking about, everyone got unbelievably blasted, and I started playing like 90s 2000s pop covers, and the entire congregation, wow, the entire the entire audience, quote unquote, was just singing drunkenly along, and it was, I mean, okay, it was a little annoying, but it was also really fun. And
That's fun.
yeah, I like those kind of gigs, especially probably because it's been so long since I've played gigs regularly that the feeling kind of coming back is like, wow, this isn't actually that bad.
I don't know, Jake. Some of us have integrity about their art
Oh,
and don't enjoy those things.
I'm sorry. Did you play Toto by Africa? Or wow, never mind. Okay, Africa by Toto. 2 weeks ago.
Can we just move on now, Jake? Are you done? Are you done?
Yeah, no, I'm not done. You ain't got no integrity left, motherfucker. But yeah, Cindy, do you have a rant of the week for us?
It's okay if you don't.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't
Basically
know.
anything that's annoying or...
I feel like there's so much to rant about in the world right now that I kind of don't want to contribute anymore.
Yeah,
fair.
you know,
That is fair.
you both just now you ranted in the most succinct way possible because we know all the topics that just came out of your rant.
You all know what's at least 5 things to rant about in the world right now.
Yeah. Wow, I was thinking like 500. But let's move on to the more exciting part, the listening of the week.
Yeah, I left it on the phone. I have to go get it. I'll be
All
right
right,
back.
Matt has to go get it.
You can start, Jake.
Yeah, I can start. I was listening to a Swiss band called Closet Disco Queen. I saw them live when I was touring through Europe a few years ago. They're like a math rock progressive metal band, and they have like a whole, it's very complicated time signatures and all this. It's a duo, and it's drums and guitar where he runs 2 setups coming out of his guitar. One goes to like a couple amps just dry, and then the other one goes to like an octave pedal with distortion, blah, 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 blah. It's a huge sound created with 2 people, and the drummer has like puts a spray of water on each of his drums, and with lights in LEDs pulsating inside each drum head, so that every time he hits a drum, like a huge spurt of colored water comes out for the entire show. It's pretty badass. But I was listening to their album S/T.
Self-titled?
I'm not a smart person. I was listening to their self-titled album. I've never seen that before.
Really?
Really? Yeah. Usually I see them actually not be lazy and type out the whole goddamn thing. But yeah, Closet Disco Queen, a Swiss progressive metal math rock band.
Wow.
Yeah, what about you, Matt?
I was listening to a Czech band.
Oh my god,
Whoa.
they're neighbors!
I had to get this because I don't remember. The Blue Effect and the Jazz Q Praha. And the album is Coniunctio. Yeah, I pronounced that right.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a common theme on this show is we don't know how to pronounce anything,
Yeah.
and then we just truck through it anyway and have people make fun of us later.
Actually cool, though. It's 2 Czech bands, 1970. 2 bands, and they got together and made an album together.
Okay.
And one of them is like a power trio blues rock, and the other is like a modern jazz quartet. And they literally just like, we're now one band.
That's weird as fuck.
It's super
Wow.
like proggy, and then there'll be like sax going on.
Yeah, okay.
It's
And
really
what
cool.
are they called?
You're making him say it again?
Well, okay,
I just wanted to hear him say it again.
Oh.
the Blue Effect and the Jazz Q Praha.
Wow.
Did that actually help you?
No,
I'm
that's
curious.
why we write these things down when we release them.
That
What about you, Cindy? What have you been listening to lately?
Actually, I too found a random European band, although
Oh my God.
What is happening?
apparently they have a gigantic following. I'm on the mailing list of a couple of voice teachers, and one of them said he had done, I guess this is a thing now, a voice teacher reaction video to an incredible singer.
Oh yeah.
Because
yeah.
this singer is, oh my god, she's fantastic, and I saw that like 10 different voice teachers had done a reaction to her. But anyway, so this guy's the band is called Nightwish, and they're a symphonic metal band from Finland.
Okay.
And this singer is just, holy shit, she is fantastic. Her name is, here comes pronunciation.
Yeah, here we go.
Her name is Fleur Jansen.
That sounded pretty good.
I bought that.
Yeah, I would buy that. Yeah.
But she is fantastic, and watching this voice teacher's reaction video as she's up there, and she's dressed in like a Viking outfit,
Yeah.
this heavy metal show in a gigantic arena somewhere in Finland. And this woman's voice is just amazing, and apparently she also sings opera, because then there was another video of her singing Phantom of the Opera. Another video of her singing some beautiful, soft acoustic. Just, she can do anything. Her
Sounds
voice
badass.
is shockingly good. But it was really fun to hear symphonic metal because that's a genre that I kind of forget about. It hasn't. No one has cared about it in the U.S. for a while, but
That's very true.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, where else does symphonic metal come from besides Finland? Like, you know what I mean? If there was any country in the world I would pick for that band to come out of, it'd be there.
oh, but I'm definitely a new fan. I will be
Check that out. That sounds
All right.
cool.
Nightwish, you said?
Nightwish.
Nightwish.
All right.
Sweet.
Yeah. With that, I think we're done with this episode of Music Sucks and I Want to Die. Thanks again to Cindy O'Connor.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
sharing your wisdom,
That
your
was
insights.
a lot of fun. Thank you guys.
Yeah, of course. And my name is Jake.
I'm Matt.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.